Neurodevelopmental disorders are disorders that affect the way the brain of your child grow and develop. There are lots of neurodevelopmental disorder, one of which is autism. So today we will be discussing extensively about autism. What is autism? What are the risk factors of autism? What are the early signs and their symptoms? And what can you do to help your child? These and many more we'll be discussing. Okay, by the way, if it's your first time visiting my channel, you're highly welcome. This is Anita Danielle TV. On this channel, we make how to do videos, celebrity gist and gossip, trending matters, and health and informative videos. And now we'll always be talking about neurodevelopmental disorder on this channel. So if it's your first time stopping by, you're welcome. Do not leave without subscribing. Thank you. Support my channel, like my videos, drop a comment so that YouTube can share this video to a broader audience. So like I was saying, we will be talking about autism today. What is autism? It is a condition, like I said, autism is also a neurodevelopmental disorder, a condition that affects the way the brain the brain grow and develop. And if your brain is not growing and developing as a typical child, the way it should be, of course you know that even the way your actions and everything you do will be affected. That is because it is the brain that functions, that tells us, that sends signals to all parts of our body. It is even the brain that tells us, move your hand like this, touch this thing. So the brain does all of these things. In a case where there is an issue, of course, it's not going to function the way it should be. Autism Spectrum Disorder, which is popularly referred to as autism, is called a spectrum disorder because the way autism will affect one child is different from the way it will affect another. For instance, two children can both be autistic, but the way it manifests in them is different. Also, environmental factors, change of location, being in a new environment and all that can as well influence how autism manifests in an individual, and as a result it is referred to as a spectrum disorder. So now let's talk about the symptoms of autism. Before one is actually labeled as autistic, before one is diagnosed as having autism, then these three must be present. So before someone is diagnosed of having autism, these three features must be present. First is that the child will lack in social communication. The child is not able to communicate the way, if you look at the child, every age has a milestone. So if you look at your child's developmental milestone, the way he's communicating, you will see that it is different from the way children his age communicate. The child will not be able to communicate properly in a social situation as well. Then the child will also lack in social interaction, being able to relate with people in a social setting. As we that are typical, we are able to say, okay, this is a social situation, so I know exactly how I should act, I should behave. Like that self-awareness will be there, right? And besides that, the child will not be able to mingle. Like, when you meet someone, you know the gesture, hi, how are you? What's your name? Those kind of gesture, the attitude you put up because you know that you're meeting someone for the first time, the attitude you put up because you know that this person is someone I'm already used to, those are social situations and interaction and communications that children who have autism, they lack. They will not know how to join a play with their friends, like mingle with their friends, their peers. They will not know how to even engage them in a conversation, start a conversation, or remain in that conversation. That is it. And also, the child will have restrictive and repetitive behavior pattern and interest. That is, for a child who has autism, the child might have restrictive interest. For instance, the child might like to play with a particular kind of toy, maybe a car. I worked with a child that loves vehicles a lot. Like, the child knows, in fact, names of vehicles I do not even know. The child knows all their names. His interest is in vehicles. However, if you try to take that particular interest away from him, or probably you want to switch it, okay, let's play with a book this time, he will get really worked up, he will get angry, aggressive, he will throw tantrums, because they usually will have a restrictive interest, and also they have repetitive behavior pattern. A child who is autistic might have a habit that he does repeatedly. For instance, you might just see that the child likes to spin while standing, or the child likes to sit down and roll the chair. The child is sitting back and front, back and front, back and front. Or the child might rather like to flap his hand, or probably, but like they just have a particular habit that they repeat, repetitive behavior pattern. When these three are present, then you, that is not a professional, when you see these three features there in your child, you that's not a professional, you do not diagnose. You are not going to say, my child is autistic, my child has autism. You would rather say, I think my child has autism. So at that point, you want to take your child to see a neurodevelopmental specialist. You want to take your child to see a developmental pediatrician, to be precise, and the person will be able to diagnose if your child has autism or not. So, what are other symptoms of autism? Besides these three, there are other symptoms you see. They lack in verbal and non-verbal communication. They can't really communicate the way they should. There are some who, okay, when we talk about non-verbal and non-verbal, you know what it means, right? That is, there are ways we communicate with our body. We use body language, or we use gesture. If I want to tell someone yes without having to open my mouth, I could do this, or I could do to say no, or I could say to wave bye, or I could do like this, give me a hug, without using my words. A typical child will understand all of this you're doing, will be able to interpret that this is what you mean. But a child who has autism will struggle with this, will not really be able to interpret or communicate non-verbally with gesture and body language. There's a way I will look at my child, and there's a kind of look I will give him or her, and they will know that I'm not happy. Oh, my mom is not happy with this thing I'm doing. So they will be able to probably try to adjust or correct themselves. But a child who has autism will not be able to do this. Like, will not know, will not understand these gestures. And when we talk about verbal communication skills, we talk about using your words to express your thoughts, right? Or we talk about being able to, like, basically a child who has autism will struggle with verbal communication skills, will struggle with language, will struggle with being able to express themselves, will also struggle with receptive language skills. When we talk about receptive language skills, we're actually referring to, you understand, I communicate to you, I say a lot of things, you are able to receive and process them and give an appropriate feedback. Okay, let's make it simple. If I say, I am hungry and I want to eat, you understand what I mean, right? Okay, if I tell a child who has autism that, do you want to eat now? Are you hungry? The child might not be able to provide the right answer because he has not been able to process that information to understand what it means. There was an autistic child, a child on the spectrum actually that I work with, and the child didn't understand what WH questions are. That's questions that start with who, where, when, why, and like. So the child, which was like WH question. Basically, the child was not, he does not know these things, or I would say didn't, because we worked and over time he understood and it's able to provide appropriate response. But then when I just met the child, didn't understand WH question, and that was part of my work with the child. Besides not understanding WH question, the child still lacked in social skills, didn't know how to mingle with his friends. He might say that he, like, in fact, he was a loner. They are usually loners. They want to be on their own, like they want to play. Yes, they might like a particular toy, but they don't want to share. They don't want to play with you with the toy. They see your own toy, they don't know how to come and meet you and say, can I share, can I play with you, can I see it, can I read this book with you? They really lack in social skills. Okay, another symptom you're going to see is that they lack in executive functioning. They are not able to, okay, like now I'll be saying a lot, like executive functioning is just a mental skill. It will help you to be able to organize your day. I would say you'll be able to plan, you'll be able to know that, okay, this, I will do this, I will do that. Your cognition basically is sound. But for a child who has autism, they might struggle with information processing. I've been saying a lot, right? For the last 6 minutes, I've said a lot, and I know you process everything I'm saying, and then you understand basically what I'm saying. But a child who has autism, this is too cumbersome for the child to be able to process all at once. Also, a child who has autism or on the spectrum might have issue with sensory processing skills. That is, the child might not be able to process what your sensory, the information your brain is sending to your organs, your sense organs. Sensory processing, if I pinch you, that is, you are able to discern that this is a pinch. You are able to tell that it's a pinch, it's not a blow, it's not a punch. You understand what I did. If I give you a slap, you know that I didn't punch you. You understand, you're able to process it. Like when we talk about sensory processing, we are basically referring to the 5 organs that we use to sense. Like we're talking about taste, vision, hearing, feeling. Yeah, 5, and then also perceiving. But a child who has autism will not be able to use these sense organs appropriately. Might not be able to process it. They might smell. If I'm smelling of poop, you would know, because your organ for perceiving, like, it's working as it should. You are able to process it. If I'm smelling nice, like probably I'm wearing a perfume, you'll be able to tell. If you are even familiar with the perfume, you'll be able to tell that, oh, you are wearing this perfume. Yeah, so that's what I mean. But a child who has autism might struggle with this. Also, with hearing, might hear different type of noise. Okay, if I hit an iron, the way it will sound will be different from if I hit a plastic. A child who has autism will not be able to discern and tell me, okay, this sound is because you hit an iron, this sound is because you hit a plastic. So basically that is it, as it affects their sensory organs. Also, it affects their sensory processing. Also, children who have autism still lack in motor skills. They can be deficient in motor skills. We have fine motor skills and we have gross motor skills. And the fine motor skills has to do with the muscles of your hands. The muscles of your hands. You use your hands for a lot of things, right? You use your hands to walk. You you use your hands. If I want to open a water bottle, I'm going to use my hand to open it. I'm going to use my hand to spin and open it. If I want to pick beans, like I want to cook beans and then I have to pick it so that there are no stones, I'm going to use my fingers, right? There are many things that you use your fine muscles for. For instance, you want to hold a pencil or a biro and write. You are going to use your fingers. So your soft muscles are your fine muscles. So these children have difficulty in fine motor skills because the muscles are weak. they are not properly developed. They didn't grow strong as they should. So my struggle with that, such activities, and also gross motor skills, jumping, running. That's the muscles that are bigger, your bigger muscles, your heavier muscles. You use them for gross motor skills: jumping, running, walking, standing, stamping, and the likes. But a child who has autism might have challenge with all these. Also, a child who has autism will lack eye contact. For instance, if someone is speaking to me, to let the person know that I'm with you, I can hear what you're saying and I'm processing it. In fact, we are communicating. I will be watching the person eyeball to eyeball, right? Like this. It's just natural. Someone is not going to be talking to you and then you look away. The person would know that, okay, you're giving me the attitude that you're not interested in what I'm saying. That's because the person is able to process. A child who has autism, the most majority of them have issues with eye contact. They cannot look at you eyeball to eyeball. They might just want to put their head down. Even when you say, look at my eyes, they look and instantly put their head down. They can't consistently look at you like this. Just the way I am looking at my screen, as though I'm looking at someone. We have verbal and non-verbal autism. Some autistic people may not speak at all. In fact, research confirms that 25 to 30% of children living with autism are minimally verbal. That is, they have fewer than 30 words, or some don't even speak at all. In some cases, with intervention programs in place, some of these non-verbal autistic children will eventually learn to speak, while others would not speak eventually and would have to learn other ways to communicate. Some people with non-verbal autism do develop the ability to use a few words. However, they are unable to carry out any significant conversation. For instance, a child who is non-verbal might be able to say car, meaning let's go for a ride, but might not be able to answer the question, where should we go? Some have the ability to speak but use language in a repetitive way. For instance, they might want to say words they've learned from therapists, like use language that the therapist has taught them over time, or they might want to mimic, echo whatever they hear from the television, like probably read a script they've heard from the television, or words they hear around them, words people say to them, they might just want to repeat it. That is, for instance, I have a child I work with like that is echolalia. The child has autism. If I say how are you, he wants to say how are you. Whatever I say, he says. He's just saying these words, but it's not really processing it to understand what it means and give the right response. There are many techniques that are available to encourage and improve verbal communication in children with autism. One of such is speech therapy. You engage the child in speech therapy, that might eventually get the child to be able to speak. Or you use picture exchange communication system. For instance, I can have a picture that says I want to drink water, or probably someone drinking water, and then the child sees it, and you have trained the child over time to understand that if you see this picture, you're trying to tell me you want to drink water, so pick the card and give it to me that you want to drink water, and then I will respond similarly. Are you done? Using the picture. So it's picture exchange communication system. This can eventually enable the child be able to speak, be verbal. We also use music therapy to get these children to eventually speak, while some we can use play therapy. For a child who has social skills deficit, you're definitely going to use play therapy to help the child to be able to build social skills. However, there's no guarantee that any of this approach will work for a particular child, because it might work for one and don't work for another. So if one is not working for a particular child, you can try another. And like I said, some autistic children eventually learn to speak while others do not at all. So they have to use other means, however, to communicate, because they just have to communicate anyways. And for a child who is verbal, when you say an autistic child is verbal autism, the child is fluently verbal. However, that child is not also free from language and communication challenges. The child will not be able to use words appropriately. The child will not still understand expressive or receptive language skills. I told you of an autistic child I work with who is verbal. The child is verbal, however, does not understand some WH questions and provide appropriate response, cannot process information. His receptive skill is low, even expressive language skill is low, has a lot in mind to say but do not know exactly how to put them into written words or spoken words. So that's it. But however, therapy actually helps make a difference. It made a difference for this particular child. Now let's talk about the levels of autism. We have level 1 autism, level 2 autism, and level 3 autism. And these are graded based on severity. Level 1 autism is mild, level 2 autism is moderate, and level 3 autism is severe. So for level 1 autism, they might find it difficult to initiate a conversation, maintain interest in a conversation. They might also find it difficult to respond the way others would expect. As a result, they might find it difficult making new friends or making friends in general without support. In addition to that, a level 1 autism, a level 1 autistic child would have issues with planning and arranging, like organizing his or her day, might actually have restrictive pattern of interest, like I initially explained, or restrictive behavior pattern. They want to do the same thing, and if you try to change it, they get really worked up. And they might also have challenge with changing environments, like moving to a new location or changing routine. That really upsets them a lot. They cannot cope. They can't adapt to moving from one activity to another. And then for level 2 autism, they require moderate support. A level 2 autistic child will communicate in short sentences. Such a child will also want to talk about only specific topics, like he doesn't want to deviate or go out of those topics when having a conversation. Also, such a child would struggle with eye contact or understanding facial expression, non-verbal cues, and all that. For instance, they might face away when they are talking to you. Of course, they are supposed to be looking at you while they're talking to you, but they might face away. So they are not able to understand non-verbal communication. They're not able to read facial expression or body language. They might also find daily functioning difficult due to the challenge of coping with change. Of course, per day we do different things, like we move from one activity to another before the day ends. A child who has autism might find it very challenging because they cannot easily just switch from one activity to another. If you try to change their routine, probably they're doing something, and you try to get them to do something different, they might really fall into significant distress. So that's it for level 2 autism. And level 3 autism is even severe. They require more support than level 2 would require. Such a child will find it difficult understanding verbal and non-verbal communication, being able to engage in imaginative play. You know imaginative play now, the one we do when we are small. We act mommy and daddy, we do mama papa play, we act like we are cooking with sandstone and the likes. For a child who is on level 3 autism, the child might see this as, it doesn't make sense. Might tell you that you're cooking stone, sand, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't understand abstract, doesn't understand that yes, it's not real, you are just acting it. So also, a level 3 autistic child will show limited interest in friends and even not be able to make friends. In addition, a child with level 3 autism will also have difficulty navigating through the day, moving from one activity to another, and will need substantial support for this. Also, such a child may face extreme difficulty in carrying through the day's activity and routine. Also, such a child would also have repetitive behavior pattern, like flapping of hands, like spinning that I talked about initially. They also face extreme distress when you try to change their activity, when you try to change whatever they are doing, when you try to take off their mind away from what they're doing and say, okay, let's do this. Okay, you were playing with a book. Okay, now let's watch a movie. Like it's they can adapt, and that can put them in extreme distress. That's for level 3 autism. So what are the early signs of autism? Of course, you cannot diagnose a child of having autism until that child is 3. However, you can see signs. Even a 6 months old has a developmental milestone. So you know what a 6 months, 12 months, 9 months old should be able to do, and the child cannot do it. So that should be a cause for concern. Of course, there are children who are just late, like a little late, a little below their peers or age mates when you talk about development. However, you shouldn't assume. It is good that when you see these signs, you just do the right thing by confirming that, okay, there's no issue, this child is just a little late, but it's a normal child that is developing normally. Because in the world of early intervention, it is crucial that you start early. Research has confirmed that children who receive intervention and they see significant improvement are those who started early. So early intervention is really key, and early intervention is between the age of 2 to 4. Once it's above 4, it is late intervention. So if there is an issue, you want to start early. It will save you time, it will save you money, because the longer you wait before you start, the longer it will take to see the result that you would have gotten if you started early. So that means the more money you will spend paying therapists to do this. Okay, so what are these signs that you can see that can make you suspect that there is an issue, and then seek the service of a developmental pediatrician to at least find out if truly there's an issue or not. If your child at 6 months doesn't respond with a smile when you smile at the child, then you know that there's an issue. If your child at 9 months doesn't mimic sound or facial expression, that is a red flag. If at 12 months your child doesn't babble, it's another red flag. If at 14 months your child doesn't understand gestures, then it's a red flag. That is, cannot point or wave. Those are gestures. It's a red flag. If at 16 months your child is not able to use single words, does not have single words at 16 months, is a red flag. If at 18 months your child is not able to get involved in imaginative play, pretend play, then it's also a red flag. Then if at 2 years your child doesn't make 2-word phrase, like combine 2 words together to make a short sentence, that's a phrase actually, not a full sentence, but a way of communicating, and then they are using 2 words together as a phrase. That if your child is not doing that at 2 years, then it's also a red flag. Or maybe at any point in time your child loses everything he already knows. Maybe I've got parents who said that my child was developing the way a typical child would develop, could say this and say that, could do this and do that, but once he got to the age of 2 years, he started losing everything, and here we are. So if you notice such, that your child has lost the word sound that he used to know, the things he can do, he's not able to do them, you know that it's a red, like he's not able to do them anymore, has lost them, you know that that is also a red flag. So if you see all these signs, you should seek the help of a developmental pediatrician to assess your child and tell you if there is an issue on earth. Okay guys, that's all I want to talk about autism today. Remember, if you have questions, you can drop it in the comment section and I will be glad to respond. Thank you guys for watching through to the end. Till I see you in my next video. Bye for now.